which is coaches are an integral part of a championship team, and just a few seconds that go either direction can shift an entire series. So let me set the stage real quick. It's game 3 of the WNBA Semi-Finals. The Aces are playing the Storm. The series is tied 1-1. Sue Bird hits a corner 3 to put the Storm up 2 with .2 seconds remaining in regulation. Becky Hammon and the Aces call a timeout, and she draws up one of the best inbound plays I've seen to give Jackie Young an easy look to force OT. Take me through the conversation going in that huddle during that timeout, because I'm watching that and I'm saying, wow, Sue Bird, her last season, she just pulled off a huge, huge swing game win, and you guys off a great inbound tied up to go to OT.
So what's funny was I went to go visit Becky before, our training camp, because again, none of us knew each other. Me, Tyler, Becky, CT, Rich, like we didn't know each other. So Becky was like, "Hey, come visit me." Well, because I stopped working a little bit before she did, and so she's like, "Come visit me." I was like, "All right, cool." Went to watch her, coach in San Antonio, and then all of a sudden, after the first quarter, Pop gets ejected, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "This is gonna be great." You know what I mean? Like I get to see Becky like live, and it was her scout, so she got to take it, and she drew that play, and I was like, "Oh my god, that play works like clockwork." And it wasn't a close game, but she drew it like end of the clock, and I'm like, "Man, that thing works!" And so as the season went on, she drew it up a couple times, like during practice, and she actually drew it one time during a close game, like 2 months prior to the playoffs. And God, it was so, I could see clear as day. So the game went back and forth, like just like you said, and we made a mistake defensively, and I'll take the credit on making a mistake, because I got phone calls from Sam Cassell, Armand Hill, Doc Rivers, T. Lou, like everybody was like, "Nat, why in the fuck did you let that corner 3 happen?" Because in the league, like you never give up that corner. Like that's the one spot you force the ball to the top, right? And so I did tell Kia, I told her to like wave her hands, but I didn't tell her to like, do not get, so that's on me. So as the ball goes, we figured it was going to go to Stewie, but for some reason, Sue got loose, and all of a sudden I see that ball go to the corner. I'm like, where in the fuck is that ball going? I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden Sue has it, and then she like, she laces it for a second. I'm like, okay. And then she nails it, and the crowd goes crazy, right? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. I look up, it says 0.8. And on the TV, it said 1.8. I don't know why it did, but it said 0.8. And I was like, too much time. And so it was crazy. Like we all knew, like, I think we all took a breath, like, oh, 0.8. I'm like, Becky already, she's got it. So we all huddled up, and she's just like, she's like, I'm about to draw that. Like she knew, and we're like, great. And she already drew a play for Bay, Raquana. She already drew a play for Asia. And so she's so great in time, like how the defense is guarding. And we knew Seattle did like to switch. They did like to stay. They don't switch, which is crazy to me. But then she said, since we scored twice already, she's like, they're going to switch. And I was like, all right. I was like, draw that play. Here comes that play, because we didn't need that much time. And she drew it up for Jackie. And we're all like, oh, this is going to work. Like it was crazy, but we're all like, this is going to work. And as soon as they get through the ball, and the ref stood right in front of me, and I was pissed. I was like, man, I can't even see it. But once Jackie turned that corner and Ezzy like went for KP, I was like, oh, she's open. And like Chelsea threw that dime and laid it in her hands. Because when we ran it like a month ago, Chelsea actually threw it at Asia's feet. And so that's why it was so good. Like all of that stuff happened a month ago, and we didn't execute it because we all knew, like, we know how to execute it now. You know what I mean? So once that ball hit Jackie's hands, Jackie just put it up. For some reason, Ezzy pulled her arms back. They had a foul to give. I know that would have been weird, to do that, but you can foul. Like as the ball goes, you actually can foul, but they didn't foul. And she put her hands down. So good for us. And Jackie made it, and we just went crazy. Like 0.8, too much time.
So I saw an interview question. It was post game. I forgot what game it was. I think it was with the Sun in the finals or the Storm, where Chelsea Gray was asked about how they have a defensive game plan for the Storm or for the Sun, and she said, "I can't give you guys that secret during the series because I can't give that away." What was it? Now that the series is over, what was your game plan?
We junked it up a lot. Becky likes
Yeah,
to junk it up. I mean, the greatest thing with Becky is like she's not afraid to here's a game plan and she's not afraid to go away from it and
yeah,
just and then change it on the fly. Like as coaches, like, and this comes from her ability of being a Hall of Famer and being a great coach. Like I'm a big believer now that you had to have played professional basketball if you want to coach professional basketball. I'm just gonna say it because how she's able to see things and adjust on the fly and say, hey, this is going to work. Like you have to have gone through that. You had to experience that, you know? So she junks it up. Like she'll call, we went triangle and 2, sometimes we went box and 1, sometimes we went zone, we went small, we went like Becky just, you know, she knows when to do it. It's just not about, okay, here's the game plan, but she knows the time of when it's going to be effective. And that is why she's great.